Good afternoon, my friends. How are we? You are very welcome along to today's show. Of course, we will also be back tonight at 8:30, but this is for our afternoon stream. So I hope you're all in good spirits. We've a lot to get through. We're going to be talking about the Mohamed Salah Egypt's call-up debate. Let's call it that. We're going to be talking about why apparently you can't turn down Qatar. You can't say no to the PSG president. And a few other bits and pieces along the way. Some updates with regards to Liverpool's managerial search, looking at Ruben Amorim, bit of scouting going on there. A few stories in the newspaper, a few comments from Gary Neville on the drop ball incident, goal of the month winner, and a few other things as I mentioned. So, how are we? Do we have a nice weekend? I hope you did. It is Monday and it's miserable outside where I am. Really, really miserable, cold, wintry, wet. And very dull. So yes, how are we all? Nice to see you guys in. Thank you for joining me. Appreciate you. So what do we want to start with today? We can start off with a bit of good news perhaps, which I like to do occasionally. Darwin Núñez did win the BBC Sport Goal of the Month. So congratulations to Darwin. His strike against Brentford, winning the BBC February Goal of the Month on Match of the Day. You've probably seen that last night. A very deserving victory. What a finish that was. I mean, I know Michael Owen said he could have gone around the keeper or whatever, but let's be honest. It was far more satisfying the way he did. The little dink over the top. Away to New Zealand is a very long way for a pointless friendly. Well, we'll get to that, JD, and it's not away to New Zealand. It's part of what's going on in the March tournament I told you, or the March glorified friendlies that FIFA are becoming part of. This is on in Abu Dhabi, I believe, if my memory's not mistaken. So, yes. We all good? I am live, haven't I? Just to make sure. I'm looking at the chat and everyone's saying hello, but nobody's yet said hello to me because I don't know if I'm live or not. Am I live? Just give me a thumbs up in the chat just to let me know I am actually live. Right, loads to get through, including the PSG threats, if you want to call it that, because they look fairly threatening based off what they're saying. You can't say no, apparently, to PSG. Yes, we are good. Good, nice, good. I was getting worried. I'm like, am I being rambling away to myself here for the last few minutes? No notifications go out, I don't think, for this early one, so it's going to be a quiet stream, but we'll get stuck into it anyway. Right, PSG. What do we make of this? PSG believe that Mbappe's exit from the club is a betrayal, and sources close to the club. Now, remember this. This is sources close to the club. This is coming from L'Equipe. Say, you can't say no to Nasser Al-Khelaifi. You can't say no to Qatar. I think you'll find he just did, and I think you'll find you very much can. What type of threatening crap is that? You can't say no to Nasser Al-Khelaifi. Well, he's the same as any other human being. You can absolutely say no, and you can't say no to Qatar. Who, what? This is all getting a little bit James Bond now. Let's be honest. You can't say no. Of course you can. Here you go. Look, I'll practice. No. Ta-da. It's a bit threatening, that, isn't it? It doesn't look great. Jen, thank you, Jen, for gifting 5 Anfield Agenda memberships. Very kind of you, Jen. Right, Liverpool are set to open contract talks with Andy Robertson over a new deal this summer, and are not concerned by reports linking the 29-year-old Scottish left-back to Bayern Munich. That comes from Footy Insider, so there you go. I told you we shouldn't worry about that. Even though some people, I think, are of the mindset of maybe selling Robbo, which very, very much surprised me. But yeah, we don't need to worry about it because Liverpool are going to be sitting down with Robbo. And like I've said to you many times, I think Robbo is very, very happy at Liverpool, very settled at Liverpool, and I don't see him going elsewhere. Craig, there's too much to say about the agenda against Liverpool and it feels like it's getting worse. Oh, I'm happy to talk about that, mate. I am very happy to talk about that, Brett. There's I'm not disagreeing with you. There seems to be a lot of things that are very clearly in the anti-Liverpool domain, but we'll get to it. Craig, can you talk about the massive problem in Manchester doctors? They've run out of anti-sodium pills. I don't know where you want me to go with that, mate. There's shortages of medicine all over the place, by the way. Even over here, the inhaler that I normally get, I can't get, haven't been able to get for months. So I'm using a different little inhaler these days. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. Doesn't reflect well on the democratic part. The whole Qatar thing. Just imagine having the barefaced cheek to come out and say that. You don't say no to Nasser Al Khalifi. You don't say no to Qatar. Stop it, will you? Like, it's all a bit James Bondish, as I said. So I guess we should get to... I know what sodium tablets are, mate. I'm very much aware what anti-sodium tablets would be, mate. Yes, I get sodium is salt. I'm all good on that one. Right, let's get to the Mohamed Salah Egypt stuff for a minute, if I could. You've probably seen the newspaper reports. We touched on it yesterday, and I'm going to just read out to you again. The Egyptian FA have rejected a request from Liverpool to leave Mohamed Salah out of their squad for a friendly against New Zealand during the international break. So, I was reading some of the comments before I went live, and some of the comments were making good points and saying things like, if Mohamed Salah doesn't play, ticket sales mightn't be as good, the Egyptian FA perhaps mightn't get as much money for him. And I understand all of that, as in, it could very well be part of the case, but also, shouldn't the welfare of the player be paramount in any of these discussions? And this is, after all, a friendly. It isn't a World Cup. Well, it wouldn't even be a qualifier, would it? But it is the World Cup qualifier. It's not an AFCON. It's nothing. It is a friendly against New Zealand in the March international break, where, let's be honest, Egypt already had Mohamed Salah for the middle and first part of February, and now it's a month later and they're throwing their toys out of the pram again. They just need to realise that they don't look very professional on the world stage here. They look bitter. They look sour. They look like they're trying to intentionally cause trouble. And I don't understand it. I don't understand how common sense can prevail and they look at it and go, the man's just been out. He could do with being rested up a bit. We want to see our Egyptian captain win trophies this season with Liverpool, which will, of course, only rise Mohamed Salah's stock even further. But no, straight to, we'll do what we want. If we want to drag Mohamed Salah all the way over to Egypt or Abu Dhabi to be looked at by our medical team and then maybe send him all the way back to Liverpool, then so be it. I don't know what to say, honestly. Obviously, you want to respect international federations, but it's feeling a little bit petty at this point. Again, I'm going to say, contrast the way Egypt go on with us for Salah with how Cameroon dealt with Manchester United for Onana, where he was allowed to jet over the day before their opening game. Where Mohamed Salah, they wouldn't even give him a day or two. They wanted him full 2 weeks or whatever it was before the tournament. It's never ending. It feels like it's always an uphill fight with the Egyptian FA. Now, I don't know if they're like this with other players in their national team and their clubs, because I've not experienced it before. Obviously, Mohamed Salah coming to Liverpool is the first time we've experienced the joys of discussing stuff with the Egyptian FA. And it just seems like every single time there's a drama. Never straightforward, never simple. Always throwing the toys out of the pram, always moaning, always feeling slighted or offended, or I don't understand it. We pay his salary, not Egypt. Well, yes, but look, they do have a right under FIFA rules to call him up. Let's not make any mistake about that. But it just feels like no matter what Liverpool think, or no matter what the Egyptian FA think, somewhere in the middle of all of it is the player's welfare. And the player's welfare should always be paramount. Now, there's no way that anybody with half a brain cell would look at this situation and go, yeah, let's drag him all the way over for a friendly where he could be recouping, resting, and looking after himself. When you make somebody make these decisions, or you put the weight and pressure back on their shoulders, I'm genuinely surprised Salah hasn't just said, nah, I'm retiring from international football at this point, because realistically, he carries the Egyptian team. He gets dog's abuse when they don't do well by some parts of the press. And I don't understand it. It's a no-win situation for Mo at times, and I wish people would just be a little bit more understanding of it. And again, I'm being blunt about this, I wish Liverpool would shithouse it a little bit. I wish Liverpool would say, oh, he's injured. Like, as I said, if I'm Jurgen Klopp I'd have an awful feeling Salah's going to feel an injury with 5 minutes to go in the FA Cup game against Manchester United and will need to be substituted for a sore hamstring, a strained hamstring, something that, he has to come off the pitch because he's injured. I'd go full Alex Ferguson on it, but, maybe Klopp and Liverpool want to be a bit more respectful. It is complicated. The new manager, Husam Hassan, wants to prove that he's the boss and not favouring Salah. It's got nothing to do with favouring though, really. It's just common sense. The man's had a while out with an injury. Travelling all the way from one country to another country and back for a pointless friendly, it's not going to do him any favours. It's not going to endear the Egyptian FA more to him. If the Egyptian manager wants to feel like he's the boss, grand, just tell him he's the boss. You're the boss. You're the guy. You're the head honcho. But it still doesn't make it any less pointless that a player who's just been out for quite a while is working his way back to fitness and has the potential to be part of an unprecedented success is seemingly being undermined by his own national team and the head coach. It just sounds a bit weird. New subscriber, love the show. Thank you so much, Junior Don. Appreciate you. Said, just to go off topic, in the first half when Harvey was injured and we had the ball, he gave the ball to the keeper. So he was consistent with his decisions. I think, as you've said, Don, Jurgen pointed that out, but I haven't seen it pointed out elsewhere. And you would start to ask, why has it not been pointed out elsewhere, right? So I am with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. It was consistency, even if it was consistency of incorrect decision making. But the way it's been reported, the whole drop ball incident, is very agenda driven. It's very clickbaity. It's a drop ball at the end of the day. And the ball had to go 90 yards, 1 minute and 50 odd seconds before a goal was scored. It is just how the game was restarted. The way some people are making this out to be, and the way Sky keep ramming on and on about this, is quite simply pathetic. Let's listen to what Gary Neville had to say, because somebody mentioned to me last night that Gary Neville on his podcast kind of, I won't say stuck up for Liverpool, but certainly tried to put it into context like a rational person. So fair play to Neville on this one. I'm going to read out a transcript of what he said, and you guys can let me know your thoughts on it. So Gary Neville said, I saw Mike Dean's interview before the game today. He was talking about the derby yesterday, where he described it as a monumental error. I watched it, and there's no doubt that it was Nottingham Forest player just in possession, and they should have got the ball back. But the goal came a minute and 50 seconds after. 2 minutes in football is an absolute age. The idea that it's a monumental error because it was a mistake, a base decision on getting the law wrong. I get it's a mistake, but I get the feeling now where we're making what I think would be a run-of-the-mill error into something you would see in a regular season being described as a massive thing. The owner on the side of the pitch and Clattenburg nonsense. I love that he's going in on the Clattenburg thing, by the way. He said the owner on the side of the pitch and Clattenburg nonsense. I can't have that. I can't buy into all of that. I feel we're pushing the boundaries and inciting not only more hate to referees, but it could become quite dangerous. We've seen referees attacked in the last 2 years. You can't complain about a refereeing decision that was 1 minute and 50 seconds before the goal. 1 minute and 50 seconds. If it was 5 or 10 seconds, you'd be fuming. To me, it's an error, no doubt. Forest should have got the ball and the pattern of play would change, but we don't know. Liverpool wouldn't have gone up the other end and scored. Liverpool have got something about them at the minute. It's a momentum that tells you it's likely thing to happen. So, common sense there from Gary Neville. So, well done, Gary, on that one. But still no mention of the other incident that Don mentioned in the chat. Match of the Day haven't mentioned it. Ref Watch with Gallagher hasn't mentioned it. I don't know if Mike Dean has mentioned it, but I haven't seen it. Neville hasn't mentioned it there. Jurgen Klopp seems to be the only one who wants to talk about the fact that the same thing happened to us in the first half. Caoimhín Kelleher should have had the ball, we should have had the ball, but it was a drop ball to the Forest keeper, I think it was, from the Harvey Elliott strike that the Forest player blocked with his head, went to ground, and the game was restarted with a drop ball to the Forest keeper. Where's all the fume and monumental errors about that? It's the same thing. Just one of them resulted in a goal, the other one didn't. So, where's the fume? If it's such a monumental error, then why isn't it a monumental error the other way around? You know why, I know why, they know why. It's because that doesn't drive fume and hate and anger. And that's all this is about. That's all this ever is about. It's getting football fans angry at each other, at the referees. And I really do agree with Neville on this. Like, I have many issues with Premier League referees. Many, many, many issues. But Gary's right in saying we're getting to the point where we have to actually look at the safety of referees. How can you have the owner of a football club on the sideline and in the tunnel after the game shouting at the referees? We've seen what happened in Turkey when something similar. Referee attacked. We can't have that in the Premier League. So Neville's right. We do have referees that we all think make wrong decisions, but there has to be a process. There has to be a way of going about it. And I also agree with Gary Neville on the incident with Clattenburg. Why bring Clattenburg in? Because Clattenburg's already admitting that he's going to lean on his relationships in the PGMOL to get some answers. Well, why do they need him? Anybody can interpret those. The PGMOL can give them the interpretations of the laws. It all just feels like greasy again. And I would go as far as to say this is what the overanalyzing of every single aspect of a game is doing. This is what VAR and the decisions of VAR are doing. People are now overanalyzing every single incident, throw-in, goal kick, free kick, every millimetre the ball is placed. Well done. You wanted this, you're now getting this, and nobody's enjoying it. It's like they're just going out of their way to just make the game as unfan-friendly as possible. So yeah, nonsense, the whole lot of it from start to finish. Bitterness from Forest fans. And where's all the fume about the singing? Where's all the fume about the sign on, sign on? Because, you know, Sky love to tell us that they're all about inclusivity, fairer sport, removing hate. That hate speech apparently doesn't count for Scousers. Scousers can, what, fair game? Tell me I'm wrong. You hear stuff sung at Spurs games about the Jewish community. Rightly, the FA, the Premier League and everybody is coming down on that and trying to stamp it out. Correctly, it should be stamped out. Same again. But why are Scousers fair game? Why are Scousers allowed to be constantly vilified in the media or constantly glossed over when their city is receiving what is clearly constant hate speech towards it? That's cool though, right? That's sound. Why? That's not picked up by any of the media. That's not picked up on Sky. They prefer to focus on the drop ball. But then tell us with a straight face that they're all about inclusivity. They're all about removing hate. Putting out all their, if you see any hate online message here. All this nonsense. But yet their very own channel can't report on hate that's happening with their microphones picking it up all over a stadium week after week. Again, it is blatant, obvious hypocrisy that is done for one thing and one thing only. To cause fume, anger and drive clicks. It is bullshit. Forest fans are now bitching about VAR. Look, they've every right to be upset about VAR incidents, same as any other fans, but it's a drop ball the other end of the pitch, and they're trying to correlate it like our disallowed goal with Diaz at Spurs. As Neville said, as Dermot Gallagher said, 1 minute 50 seconds passed since that drop ball. 1 minute 50 seconds. Forest regained possession, lost possession, there was a throw in, and then we scored from a corner a minute and 50 seconds later. It's pathetic that Sky are even allowing this to become a thing. It's pathetic that we're supposed to sit here and listen to Mike Dean lecture the rest of us about the laws of the game and the rules when he didn't want to send his mate over to a monitor. He has zero integrity to be having this conversation with us. Zero. But what do Sky do? Hire him. Bring him in as a pundit on refereeing. We've already learned that he can't even apply the laws himself, but I'm supposed to be lectured and listen to him. No, sorry, nonsense. Craig, nothing from the media about the poverty shouts aimed at Liverpool constantly. I know, Scotty. I know. It's it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? It's like it happens every week and nobody cares about it. And fair play to Scousers for letting it bounce off them a lot of the time, because I'm sure it becomes grinding very quickly, but nobody seems to want to do anything about that. And you'd ask the question, why? Will Salah be back for City? We believe so, Adri. That's certainly the hope. But, until we get a definitive answer on it, we got to wait and see if he's in the shirt on Sunday. Now, I don't think he starts the game, in all honesty. What was happening with Salah? So, again, read it out to you. No problemo. The Egyptian FA has rejected a request from Liverpool to leave Mohamed Salah out of their squad for a friendly against New Zealand during the upcoming March international break. We covered this the other day, but now we've had the official rejection of the request from Liverpool. And it's not just the rejection, it's how they reject it, with their statement of basically, it's up to us, we'll do what we want, how bleeding dare you. Fair enough. But I think two can certainly play that game with regards to snidiness. I read a comment on The Athletic yesterday that I think summarize what I've tried to say about referees and the hypocrisies of decision making. So I'm going to read this out to you, and I'd love to know your thoughts on it if you'd be so kind in the comments. This is from a gentleman named Robert S. I don't know his full name, obviously that's just his username on The Athletic. And Robert wrote, "Football is full of silly, unclear rules which are situational. You can foul and block a player off the ball to allow the ball to go out of bounds, but the same action in the middle of the park is a foul. Don't get me started on the handball rule and fouls in the box where the ball is clearly gone out of play, sometimes called penalties, sometimes not. The timekeeping is another example. Why is it that nobody knows how much time is left except the ref? It's preposterous." And there's probably more on top of what Robert said there, but I've said this to you guys for ages. Football is full of these little hypocrisies around the pitch, and when you scrutinise things as much as we are scrutinising it with VAR, these hypocrisies are going to become more and more apparent, and people are going to start asking more and more questions. Like the first thing Robert spoke about there. Why is it okay for obstruction when you're blocking the ball to go out of play? So if a defender's jockeying, blocking an attacker from getting to the ball so it goes behind for a goal kick, that's sound. But do it in the middle of the pitch and it's a free kick. You've seen it so many times. It happens all the time. It is quite simply weird. Do you think this season proves we can cope without Mo? Said Spider Sith. I didn't need it to be proved that we could cope without Mo personally. I mean, you're going to be weaker without Mo in the team. That's a gimme. But I didn't need proof. I knew we'd be fine without Mo. Same way we were fine when Suarez left. And, sometimes it takes a while to get back into the rhythm of it. But Liverpool have been always been very good about planning for the next attacking superstar. So I would never say we're fine without Mo. We're stronger with Mo in the team. But we've been very good, as you've said, since he's been unavailable. But I'd still want him in the team. Paul Tierney being stood down for his next game. Has he? For a drop ball incident. But I don't know what to say anymore. Stood down for the next game. So what they've done here is bow down to the bullshit. They've bowed down to the pressure. Okay, that's gonna end well moving forward. Right, we've got a bit of breaking news. The officials for the Liverpool-Manchester City game have just been announced. And the good news, the referee for the game, Michael Oliver. Assistant, Stuart Burton, Dan Cook. Fourth official, David Koo. Fourth official's David Koo, which is fine, because he can't do too much from there. VAR, Stuart Atwell. VAR assistant, Nick Hopton. Not great having Atwell on VAR, but I'll take Koo at least as fourth official on the sideline. He can't do too much damage there. And Michael Oliver, I think, is the best referee in the Premier League, so I've got no issues with Oliver. I wouldn't like Atwell on VAR, but look, good appointment of officials there for me. You always want Michael Oliver in charge of the big games, let's be honest. For me anyway, I think he's the best referee they have in the Premier League. Do you think Liverpool can win the quadruple? Can? Yes. Will? No. Weirdly, the one I think will come unstuck in is the FA Cup. I don't know why, and I don't mean against United because I think we beat them. But I've got a feeling we're going to end up with City in the semis at Wembley, and for some reason we'll end up going out on penalties or something. But if you want a fairer answer from me, ask me after the weekend when we play Manchester City. Because if we beat Manchester City, in my head, that's it. It's us and Arsenal head to head at that point. But let's wait and see for Sunday because it's a huge game. Right, I've got some talk about managers now to go through because we haven't touched on that part of it yet in the stream. So let's start off. Let's start because I'm apparently now just speaking in a very weird accent. Let's start with some talk about Liverpool's managerial search. So this said, and this comes in from Empire of the Cop, they say it's a potential boost to Liverpool and their hopes of landing Xabi Alonso. Bayern Munich are now considering Feyenoord boss Arne Slot as a potential option to take over from Thomas Tuchel. So again, it's more indications that Bayern are starting to see the wood from the trees now that they're fighting a losing battle for Alonso. Liverpool have retained a watching brief on Palmeiras wonder kid Luis Guilherme. That's from Lewis Steele. We've mentioned that before. Roberto De Zerbi was strongly mooted in footballing circles as a candidate, but has died down, and talk about the Brighton boss leaving has died down. Julian Nagelsmann is a potential name, but has drawbacks too with regards to the Liverpool managerial job. So it looks like De Zerbi's name is certainly out of that list. But interestingly, it looks like Barcelona are also going to ignore Pep Guardiola's suggestion of Roberto De Zerbi for their next manager. Barca look like they're going to be looking elsewhere. Ruben Amorim, a little bit on him from Lewis Steele as well. Said it appears Amorim has emerged as the next best alternative to Xabi Alonso if Liverpool were unable to tempt the Spaniard to join. Bayern Munich have also placed Ruben Amorim at the top of their list. Alonso at the top of their list. There was another bit here on Amorim though, which has been deleted by Connor. But there was a bit that said Liverpool had sent scouts to look at a few Ruben Amorim Lisbon games and also to look at Diamonde. But Connor's deleted that one, so unless that's changed. If you guys want to see the new LeBron James Liverpool shirt, keep an eye out for the video that we're going to be putting out about 6 o'clock where I go into my thoughts on the latest bit of merchandise, let's say, from the LeBron Liverpool crossover, which is quite simply horrendous. Again, for those people who are coming in a little bit late or might be joining us, good news to Darwin Núñez. Darwin Núñez' goal against Brentford has been voted the February goal of the month for BBC Match of the Day. Congratulations to Darwin on that. A very deserving winner. What's Florian going to say now? Probably that Xabi Alonso was seen in Lederhosen eating a pretzel and drinking German beer while singing some song about Bavaria. I don't know. Some other nonsense that will try to pretend like Bayern still are in with a chance there. I don't know. They should be more focusing on the fact that Leverkusen are about to become the champions of the Bundesliga for the first time in their history. That's what German media should be focusing on. Catherine said, Craig, how are you? I'm good, thank you, Catherine. Good but a nervous papa. My daughter's to go up to hospital for a little operation tomorrow. So obviously that's at the back of my mind. It's at the back of her mind. Nothing serious, I should point out, but, you know, still baby girl at the end of the day. Todd Bowley is apparently interested in Ruben Amorim too. Yeah, sure. I'm sure he is, Bill. I'm sure he has an 8-year contract ready for him, but I don't see what would be appealing about taking over Chelsea to anybody now. Like, look at the way they've treated their last few managers, and look at the state of the way the club has been run, basically, at the minute. Just a very slapdash kind of recruitment, and I just don't see how they're attractive to anybody. And I'd be the same with regards to the search for a striker. You know, if I'm any striker that they're interested in and they come in for me, why would you go there at the minute unless it is just for the money? No European football next season unless they win the FA Cup. 11th in the Premier League after spending £1 billion. It's a mess. Can Xabi go invincible this season? I guess he could in the league, because obviously he's getting beaten in the Europa League, so there'd be no invincibleness going on there because Liverpool are winning the Europa League. We've already decided that. But in the Bundesliga, perhaps. But I tell you when I'd be worried about him losing the invincible tag, after they win the title. Because it's hard to keep the guys motivated at that point when you've already won the league. But look, it's about getting Leverkusen that first league title. I can't believe they've never won a Bundesliga, but there you go. Sending love to your family, mate. From what you've said in recent months, not a great start to the year, but hopefully things ease up soon. Thank you, mate. Yeah, just try to keep myself focused at work all the time, get through some of the behind the scenes personal stuff that's been happening in recent months. But look, you keep chugging along, don't you? Craig, we could still win the Europa League and they could go invincible if we win on penalties. Yeah, I'd rather we just win it normally and they don't go invincible in everything, if that's okay. Let him go invincible in the Bundesliga all he wants, but in the Europa League, he's going to have to take an L. We've decided on that, remember? We decided months ago Liverpool were winning it. Is the Europa League important still? I would play all of our youth team here. Is it important? I would say yes, for a couple of reasons. On a personal note, the final's in Dublin, so obviously I'm emotionally invested in the idea of Liverpool winning a European trophy in the city I grew up in. But secondly, it's a trophy Jurgen hasn't won at Liverpool either, so it'll be another trophy to say, look at this collection. Winning is a good habit to get into. It would put us again in a position straight. Well, I guess we're qualifying for the Champions League anyway. But look, I would say yeah, take it seriously. You're at this point now. If we get through the games against Sparta Prague, home and away, you know, you're in the quarterfinals. You gotta try and win it from that point. Joe said, I seen earlier on Twitter Musiala is not interested in extending his contract with Bayern. Joe, you could have heard that on Anfield Agenda last night, buddy. Talked about it as you've mentioned there, Joe, yesterday. He doesn't look like at this moment in time he's ready to sign an extension at Bayern Munich, and Liverpool and Manchester City's names from the Premier League have been mentioned as admirers of Jamal Musiala. But then again, I'm sure all clubs in Europe are admirers of Jamal Musiala. Manager of Lens, Frank Hesse, reports in France that he's on the list to replace Jurgen. I'm sure there are probably genuinely 20 managers' names at this point that the club are looking at data on, scouting, but you know, where on that list is he? I would not imagine he's in the top 3 anyway. At this point it looks like it's Alonso, Amorim, it's them two, and I honestly don't think they'll need to look further than either of the top 2 on the list. Hopefully they don't need to look past number 1, which would be Alonso. Craig, if we beat City on Sunday, knowing the Sky pundits, they'll still say City are favourites. Yeah, but who cares? And I mean, ultimately, if we beat City on Sunday, we're 4 points clear of them, still 2 points clear of Arsenal, and Arsenal have to go to the Etihad. Arsenal have to play a North London derby. I mean, I don't really need Sky, Gary Neville or anybody else to tell me if we beat City, it's looking good. You can't guarantee anything, because if we beat City, there's still 10 games left to play. And 10 games is a lot of football, and anything is possible. But it certainly puts us in a stronger position, because then the pressure ratchets up even more so on Manchester City when they take on Arsenal. Because if they were to draw or lose to Arsenal, then they're out of the title race. All the pandering in the world from Sky journalists and all the fluffing in the world won't gloss over the fact that at that point they'd be 7 points potentially behind Liverpool, 4 behind Arsenal. It's not on at that point. It's done. So yeah, look, let's wait and see what Sunday brings. Just to confirm for those coming in, referee for the game has been confirmed as Michael Oliver. VAR, Stuart Atwell. Assistant VAR, I can't remember the dude's name, but nobody we need to be concerned about. David Coote will be the 4th official. Bayern are terrible. What a time for Kane to join them. Should have spoken to Mane first. It was, I think it was a case of two things really. One, who'd pay the money for Kane. 2, Daniel Levy wanting to move Kane outside the Premier League, which I totally understand. I mean, let's be honest. If we were looking at a situation where we had to sell Mo, you'd want to sell him outside the Premier League, wouldn't you? So, Kane's options, I think, were probably somewhat limited. It was either go to Bayern or stay at Spurs by the looks of it. And yeah, he was unlucky that he picked the one time to go to Bayern where they aren't going to win the Champions League by the looks of it. They're certainly not going to win the Bundesliga if Alonso and Leverkusen keep going the way they are. Oh well. You can take the boy out of Spurs, but you can't take Spurs out of the boy. This time next week we'll know if we're winning the league or not. Don't think we'll get a definitive answer on it next week. No matter what happens next week, there's still arguments to be made for, well, all of them. But if we beat City, we still have to contend with Arsenal, who are, they're taken into the pitch tonight against Sheffield United away from home. But you'd still, look, I expect Arsenal to trounce them, the form Arsenal are in. But you know what will be interesting about the title race? If Arsenal lose 1 or 2 key players, like, I'd love to see what happens if Arsenal lost Rice for 4 games, or if Arsenal lost Odegaard or Saka. I know they have players out. I'm not trying to say Arsenal don't have injuries. Yuri and Timber's been very unfortunate for them, and they've had a few others out as well. Zinchenko. So I'm not trying to say Arsenal haven't had injuries, but key personnel compared to us, I feel like they've had a bit of luck this year. That's okay. I'm not begrudging them their bit of luck. But it would be interesting. And it was around this time last year, if I'm not mistaken, 10, 11 games to go, that Arsenal started to have their wobble and fall away a bit. So can they really put those ghosts to bed? They lost Saliba and fell off last year, said Gokul. If City lose KDB and Rodri, then they could have trouble. Yeah, of course, but City have just a really tough run of games, and they beat United yesterday. Fair play, comeback victory. Us coming up next. Arsenal after the international break. They've got a tough run of games. Who do you reckon will get as our next manager? Alonso. I'm still... Look, I don't know what you don't know, so when I say a number, it's a number I feel inside, not a number I can quantify. But honestly, I'm like 85-90%. If it's not Alonso, I'd be shocked. Like, I fully think we're getting Alonso at this point. And actually, the quicker he wins the Bundesliga, in my opinion, the better. So, yeah, if he collapsed, let's say, and they didn't win the Bundesliga, I'd actually worry more about not getting him, because I think he'd want to put it right with Leverkusen. But if they get the job done this season, which it looks like they're going to do, I think that increases our chances. What's going on with Salah? The Egyptian FA is what's going on with Salah. So the Egyptian FA has rejected a request from Liverpool to leave Mohamed Salah out of their squad for a friendly against New Zealand during the March international break. As we've said, we read the statement out initially. Let me find it so I can read it back to you in full. So this came in from the Egyptian FA. They said, "We have already received a letter from Liverpool to exempt Mohamed Salah from the upcoming camp due to his injury. It's still too early to decide the matter, and if Mohamed Salah plays any match in the time before the start of the camp, we will adhere to his inclusion, and he will be examined with the extent of his readiness determined by the medical staff of the Egyptian national team." Just why be such argumentative people? Why not just say, if Liverpool think he could do with a rest and Salah could do with a rest, give him a rest. It isn't a big game. It is a friendly and a March international break where he's already been away from his club for over a month for the AFCON. Even when he was injured, still stayed over there with the team. There just needs to be some give and take here. There needs to be some common sense from the Egyptian FA. I say needs to be. There hasn't been any so far, but let's wait and see. Jayden Danns is going to have a part for City. I have a weird feeling he'll score. We need to take some of the pressure off those shoulders. I'm starting to get a bit concerned that people are overhyping him. And I don't mean it in a way that we don't want him to do well. I mean it like, let's not be one of those build him up to knock him down type of situations. Let him progress at the pace the club wants him to progress. Yes, he's been brilliant. Yes, he's shown he has something about him. Yes, we want him to do well. But he's still only a very young man. And he's still very, very inexperienced at the top level. So I think we need to be measured in our expectations for Jayden Danns. And let's underplay it and see how he gets on. I think that's the smarter move. Do we have Salah for Sunday? That depends on the rest of the week. We'd hope so, yes. The aim is certainly to have him ready for Sunday. But as this moment in time, we're just going to have to wait and see. I don't expect him to play any part in Thursday's game against Sparta Prague, but let's wait and see what happens there. Can Salah reject going back for the friendly? To some extent, yes, but it will get messy. He would have to basically... You'd hope that he could reach out and say, look lads, I could do with the rest. Is there really any need for me to travel? Is there something else I can do to make up for it maybe in another point? You think you'd find a common sense solution. But other than maybe stepping away from international football, which of course it doesn't look like he's ready to do, they kind of do have the ability to force the issue. But again, this is where it gets messy, and this is where you think to longer term relationships. You think to future Egyptian players that may play at Liverpool and the relationship with the FA. I don't know. It just feels to me like, just like we had with the Dutch FA over Gravenberch, I felt like there was no need for that to escalate the way it did. And there was a little common sense that wasn't coming through in all of the reporting about it. That Gravenberch had just moved to a new city, new league, new club, just before the international break and wanted to settle in. And of course that was a bigger deal than it needed to be. Surely Liverpool have more power than Egypt over Mo. Nope. Not when it comes to international call-ups. The rules are very clear. The FAs, whatever ones they are, during a scheduled international break have the ability to call the players up, and if they are told the players are injured, they have the ability to potentially call them up to be looked at by their team doctors and assessed. So, I know it's baffling to us, right? Because any players paid their wages by their clubs, but you'd be amazed the actual power during these international windows that the clubs do have, or the FAs have. We've never lost to Manchester City at Anfield with fans since 2003. Look, they've beaten us once during Klopp's time here at Anfield in the league, and as you mentioned, it was during COVID era, so fingers crossed. Fingers crossed we're ready to go for next Sunday. But I think we've got to box off Foden. Somebody needs to be given the job to sit in Foden and make sure he can do nothing, because he's the player more so than De Bruyne or Haaland that worries me for City. I think, keep Foden quiet is the aim. Do hit the like button, by the way, if you haven't done so already, folks. Appreciate you. We're only 7 subscribers away from 246,300 as well. So if you haven't subscribed, please do. Endo, potentially, but you don't want to isolate Endo to mark on just one man. So you're probably looking at having one of your attacking midfielders maybe keeping an eye on him. But it may be a double pivot. I don't know. I hope Klopp is full on heavy metal against Man City. Chaos, no respect to them, go at them, and just keep going at them. Because that's the only way to beat them, in my opinion. Is just go at them 100 miles an hour. Don't give them a minute. Don't let them settle. Don't let them get into a rhythm. And just get the Anfield atmosphere hyped up behind the boys and make it a really intimidating atmosphere. Gakpo's gone through a rough patch. He'll be back. Yeah, look, people need to get off Gakpo's back. He's been very much criticised for I don't know what reason. Like, yes, he hasn't been having a great time of it in recent weeks, but I think people still forget he's a young player. He'll come good, as will Gravenberch, and people just need to get off his back a little bit. Now we've got Darwin back, the pressure should be released a little bit from Gakpo. Is Mo leaving as in a transfer request? No. No transfer request from Mohamed Salah. Whoever, and I don't know if you've seen that reported somewhere, but it's bullshit. And can you stop fucking spamming my chat with the same shit? Anybody, look, you've put in the same comment twice in a second. That's the way you get booted out of the chat. Give me a second to get to your point and I'll answer it. No, Salah's not leaving. I don't know what Twitter or Instagram account have lied to you, but there's no request coming in, my man, from Mo. I don't know what happens, my guys, honestly, in the future, mate. Don't know what happens in the summer. But no transfer request. No. That's I think someone's just trying to stir the pot a bit there. So to the best of my understanding, sir, no transfer request from Mo. I don't think Mo would do that to Liverpool because I don't see why. Like, who's he putting in the request to go to? Saudi? Doubt it. And also, there could be a conversation there. So if he puts in a transfer request, that would forego any loyalty bonuses and a lot of money for that part of the deal. So no, I don't see it having any legs. Is Foden injured for City? I don't believe so. Now, I know people were looking at him coming off the pitch yesterday, but I think it was just coincidental timing that Foden was, after going in on a challenge where he was a little bit limpy, if that's the best word. But no, I don't believe he was injured. I think that was just a substitution aimed at doing two things. Giving Foden a few minutes rest, obviously, and also giving him the reception from the Etihad that his performance deserved, in all honesty, against United. I think, again, it was just Guardiola trying to keep his confidence high by giving him that standing ovation that he would have received when he left the pitch. Score prediction for the City game. Don't feel ready to give one yet, because we obviously have to go through the game against Sparta Prague. We need to see what the injury situation looks like. So, yeah, I'm not ready for score predictions yet because I'm not ready to predict an 11 yet. But I feel comfortable saying we won't lose. I can give you that if that's okay. I don't think we lose the game. United played with 11 behind the ball. Klopp style will be easier for City to break down with more space for Haaland, KDB. Well, you say that, but it hasn't generally worked out too well. City, I think Manchester United played into City's hands. They scored a goal, a great goal by Rashford, and then they sat back and invited pressure. And ironically, I think what you've said is the exact opposite, Michael. I think City are better against a low block than they are against a team like us. Whereas we struggle against a low block. City have better crafted technicians to play in and around the low block and find a way. You see it play out time and time again. It's almost impossible to sit deep and defend against City because they will find a way. I think you need to be on the front foot and we need to not give them time to get their heads up and try and play balls in over the top of our line. We need to trust Virgil van Dijk and Canade to hold that defensive line properly. And we need to get Endo, McAllister and whoever else is in midfield pressing, hunting in packs and not giving City players time. And then we need to cause chaos. And that's where a certain Uruguayan comes in. That's the way I'd approach the game. Because that's the way I think we've had joy against Manchester City over the years. Look back to the Champions League games against them. It is that 15-20 minutes where we, and when I say we, I mean the players, the coaches, the atmosphere, the fans, all of it. Just, it's like teams black out for 15 minutes and they wake up and it's like, oh my God, we're 2 down. What? That's what we need to happen. Full on, chaotic, in your face, glorious, glorious heavy metal football. Klopp has shown his utter dominance this season over Pep with victories, even though 11 first team players have been injured. Still top of the table with kids leading the line. Exactly. You know, the only game this season I'm going to say he was outwitted in was against Arteta. But that was more so the players just did not show up. And we weren't able to change the game. But so often this season, whether it be half-time or inside the second half, those changes from Linders or Klopp have been spot on. Small details at times that we may not have noticed initially until it was pointed out afterwards, but their in-game management this season has been probably some of the best I can remember for Klopp's time at the club. What's this? I'd back Trent to pocket Haaland. Haaland isn't any as good as people. Well, Trent isn't playing, Jimmy, so I don't think we need to have that conversation. And also, he wouldn't be picking up Haaland. It would be Van Dijk and Kanade. Three things. Obviously, try to keep Haaland quiet. Try to give Phil Foden no space. And obviously limit the damage that Kevin De Bruyne can do. Easier said than done, right? But I don't know. Let's see how the City players respond to what is going to be a loud atmosphere on Sunday. Would you go on to Sky Saturday Social if they call you? Not a chance in hell. I would sit there with those lads that know about as much about football as, I don't know, my dog. No, mate, it is a shit show of a show with clickbait opinions from people that I would rather not be associated with. And that's me being polite. And also, you glossed over one really important fact there that anybody that knows me would know. Your boy Craig, he doesn't do the AM. So, you know, doing a morning show, nah, that's not me. That's probably you're going to get me having not slept. But nah, it wouldn't be my cup of tea. And look, I'm not going to lie either. My detest for Sky is growing week on week. There are some people at Sky who I hold in high esteem. I think Cave Solokol is a fantastic journalist. I think Melissa Reddy does great work. Darmay Sheth, I think he does good stuff as well. But some of the other stuff that goes on these days, they're just... I look at Sky as a bad YouTube channel at this point. United allowed City to have too much room. You've got to keep applying an attacking game and make them feel uncomfortable. You give them too much time, they punish you, said Jack Howe. I agree. We can't give them time. We got to get in their face. When you think of Paul Tierney's mistakes, crazy. It takes a drop ball situation to get him banned. It's ridiculous. And I'll tell you why I think it's ridiculous, Malcolm. They've now cowered and given in. So, as you've mentioned, of all the things you could maybe pull Tierney up on, a drop ball seems a little bit dramatic to make him miss a game. And I don't understand how that's going to show support of a ref. It's almost like acknowledging that drop ball won Liverpool the game. It's almost like giving in to the stupid pressure from salty, bitter people. Like, yes, it was incorrect. But it was incorrect nearly 2 minutes before we scored. I don't know. Context is massively missing here for me. And if this is what it takes to get Tierney dropped for a game or two, they need to just reevaluate their process, because it's just going to encourage more and more of it. And we are going to get to a point where an unsavoury incident will happen with somebody and a referee, and none of us want to see it. I don't like a lot of the referees, but I would not wish any physical harm on any of them. And it's not a good look when you've got an owner of a football club on the sideline and in the tunnel shouting at a referee. Again, I'll point you to what happened in Turkey where a referee was assaulted. We don't want that in the sport. The sport is already on shaky ground with the rule changes, with the grubby nature of the way FIFA and UEFA are doing things, with the awardings of World Cup, but all the other stuff that we have problems with. The Premier League needs to get its shit together. And look, as much as I despise many of the decisions from referees, I mean, I'd never want to see a single one of them harmed. Who do you think is going to play in the right wing against the Abu Dhabi Blues? Don't know yet. Lucho, Darwin. I mean, he could go with some version of Gakpo left, Lucho right, Darwin centre. That could work. Rotate ref between league countries every international break equals fixed. Arthur, I've been saying that for 2 years, mate, on the channel. I think you should have a group of, I don't know how many, but a group of top tier referees from all the top leagues in Europe, as you've rightly said, rotating in groups around different leagues, getting players used to different refereeing styles, getting them prepared for playing in Europe, and removing some of this inbuilt biases that we know are there, or at least even subconscious biases or bad incidents that they have in their mind about certain clubs and referees. Any officials announced for the Liverpool City game? Yep, they were announced earlier on, and Mark very kindly sent them straight through to me. So the officials for Liverpool Manchester City: Michael Oliver is the referee, Stuart Burt and Dan Cook are his assistants, fourth officials David Coote, and VAR operator Stuart Atwell, with assistant VAR Nick Hopton. So they're the officials for the game on Sunday. What's this one? Bear with me, something else I just have to check in on. Right, so a major Premier League club, potentially Liverpool or City, are ready to present an offer of €80 million for Nicolo Barella. LFC Transfer Room have posted this. They've credited, I don't know who that account is, to be honest. Let me click on it. Okay, so they've credited an account with 63,000 followers. I think it's fanciful, and I think it bullshit, to be honest with you. I mean, that account has 63,000 followers. LFC Transfer Room bigger than that account. So yeah, I'm not believing it. Craig, if Jota was fit, would you play him in the front three? 100%. Absolutely, if Jota was fit, he'd be playing. And I don't think we're going to go back in for Barella when we've already rebuilt the midfield the way we have. So, although I have always said, if Thiago moves on in the summer, which it looks like he's going to, we could do with a 26, 27-year-old midfielder coming in, but not an 80 million euros worth Nicolas Barella. Look, Nicolo Barella, I'd be happy. I just don't see it as being realistic. Do you think we go in for Musiala? I hope so, but usually when it gets to these type of things, mate, and there's a queue of clubs willing to spend more money than us, you know, you'd have to say unsure, but I'd be very, very happy if we were. And according to the papers, it's also Manchester City from the Premier League who are showing the most interest in Jamal Musiala, but you know, when we don't have a sporting director, we don't know who our next manager is, I don't know, it's hard to really talk transfers, isn't it? If we got Sabi, would you pick Musiala or Wirtz? Probably Wirtz, but either one would be amazing. But I think the relationship with Alonso and Wirtz, obviously already there, yeah, I think he'd know how to utilise him and what to do with him in our system. But if you had either of those two, what a signing. Foden or Saka, said Queen Adra. Foden, 100%. Look, I have a real soft spot for players who play between the lines, like David Silva. And I think Phil Foden, as much as he's an unlikable dude, he's an extremely talented footballer with a great work rate, great technical ability, a fighting spirit. He's a damn good player. He just is. So yeah, I take Foden. Wirtz is better than Musiala. Wirtz is an ACL and still a top player. I don't know if he's better than Musiala, but look, either way, we're talking about two top-notch players. And yes, he's come back from his ACL magnificently well. Didn't realise, actually, the Wirtz came through the Cologne system, the rivals of Leverkusen, before he moved. I was watching something in halftime of one of the German Bundesliga games, and I think it was on Premier Sport or something, where they had a little bit about Florian Wirtz and his time at Cologne, and I never realised until watching that little doc. Jack said, think FSG need to realise Klopp's speciality is taking cheap players and making them great. Without that, they're going to need to spend. Well, you could say similar for Alonso. I mean, look at what Alonso has done with some players who are at points in their career where they've never maybe got to the levels before. I mean, looking at one player in particular, Grimaldo. Look what Leverkusen's been able to do under Xabi with him. Jimmy Ya said, Wirtz is good, but Musiala is so good. But he's no Curtis Jones. I love it, Jimmy. Right, my friends, I'm going to say goodbye, but I will see you at 8:30 tonight, where we will have a notification and hopefully a bigger chat, which I'm sure we will. Video coming out at 6 o'clock, where I'll be talking through the latest LeBron James Liverpool crossover and a couple of other bits and pieces as well. So do keep an eye out for that video coming out at 6 o'clock. Until then, appreciate your time this evening, and I will see you tonight at 8:30 for the Late Night Agenda. My favourite show of the week is always the Monday night one for some reason, so I look forward to catching up with you then. Appreciate your time this afternoon, folks, and I'll catch up with you later.